the stuff of this universe, if we could bring it together, it would come together as nothing, zero, emptiness. So we came out of nothing. And basically right now we're nothing. We'll go back to nothing. The zero-sum game, totally. I really like that. So this whole universe comes from nothing. It's just a plus and minus, totally balancing each other, but separated. And then eventually comes back together into nothing. Just like your consciousness. Where did your consciousness come from? People often asked. Sort of a separation of negative and positive. And it can be coming from nothing, going back to nothing. It's like impermanence, inconstant, not always the same. And that to me, when you first hear that, sometimes that can be quite frightening because it's the nature of human being, always to like some stability, some place which you can sit down and have a rest. And a lot of times people think that you need something stable to sit on and rest in life, which is why we want the stable relationship. We want the people we love to always be around all the time. You know, we want to have some sense of certainty in the economy of the country or the stability of this place, so we can have a community, a nation where we can feel safe, that we're going to raise our children, everything's going to be okay. But you know, the nature of the world is not like that. Things are in constant flux and change to the point that when we become aware of this, we realize that, you know, there is a deep instability in this world, in this nation, in this existence. And we really have to come to terms with that as soon as possible. And how do we come to terms with the changing nature of our life? Obviously, that when you don't come to terms with the changing nature of our life, that is called attachment, that's called delusion. And if we don't allow ourselves to understand that and to accept it, we always think that the people we love are going to be there forever, and that's a problem. And one of the great sayings of the Buddha is, all that is mine, beloved and pleasing, will one day become separated from me. All that is mine, beloved and pleasing, will one day become separated from me. I always try to remember that. Because what that actually means is that, you know, we enjoy the company of the things we love. We enjoy them, but we know that one day they will go. And it's not a frightening feeling when we understand it deeply. In fact, it's quite a beautiful feeling, as I will now demonstrate with one of Ajahn Chah's great similes. He would actually pick up a cup. So he said, he'd hold up a cup and he said, can you see the crack in the cup? And I would look carefully to see where it was cracked, and I just couldn't see it, and I wondered what he was up to. And he said, it is cracked, but it's microscopic. You can't really see it. But one day, he said, someone's going to kick that glass, or they're going to drop it, and the crack is going to open up, and it's going to be destroyed. Because it's the nature of glass to have cracks, faults, which open up when you drop them. He said it's fragile. He said because it's a glass which has a crack in it and it's fragile, it will one day be destroyed. He said, Brahma Wangso, that's why you have to look after it and care for it. He said because it's anicca. It means it's impermanent, it's subject to change. He said that's why you must care for it. He said just like one another, your children, your partner, your friends, your cat, your dog, you know that they are changing all the time. But one day you will become separated from them. One day the crack will appear. Either they die or you die, or they go off to the other side of the world and you're left here, or the other way around. There's a crack coming. But because they're fragile, that is why we have to care. And to me that opened up not only the reality of change, but also the way we deal with change, and the wisdom and the compassion which always comes when we understand the nature of change. The fact that we're not always going to be here together, which means there's not enough time to get angry at each other and say bad things, because the day might come when you can't say sorry and they're gone. While there is still time, always say sorry. Because the time comes when you just can't say it anymore. So take the opportunity, because change happens. You cannot rely on people always being around. And it's beautiful when you realize that it's changing and situations, they come today and they don't sort of come again tomorrow. It means that you do grab the opportunity, to say what's really important in life. If we don't allow that acceptance of change, we're fighting against the truth of things. And fighting against the truth of life is called suffering. And none of us want that. Allow change to happen. So don't fight it all the time. If you actually can sort of not be afraid of change, when we're not afraid of change, we can be very adaptive. We enjoy the time we have together. And we find that when that change happens and then there's a parting or there's a moving away, we don't feel sad. We feel, what a wonderful time we've had together. What a great thing this has been. Yeah, the cup is now broken, but while it was here, I loved this, I cared for it. And of course, it lasts much longer that way. We cared for it and loved it, had many, many wonderful cups of water from your glass. And that way, there's never any sadness. There's a sense of gratitude and acceptance and love of life. So I think it's wonderful, actually, when we understand that sort of change is something which we have to deal with, we have to become one with, we have to flow with, rather than always resisting in our life. And again, sometimes it's because that people are afraid. They're afraid that if they go to that new place, that new position, that new whatever it is, they think that somehow or other they're going to lose a lot and they're going to suffer more. It's a sense of insecurity. But it's a sense of insecurity when we always define ourselves as being with this partner or that job or whatever. We find we're so stiff we can never adapt to the time and to the place. So in order to effect change, I've been practicing for years. I encourage this practice for you. Always actually put aside all of the rules and the training. All the things which you are meant to do and supposed to do. Put them aside just for a moment. Just be in this moment. Be kind. Be compassionate. Be wise. And just adapt to this moment. And if you can actually just adapt to this moment, you'll find all the rules, whether you're a psychologist, whether you're a nurse, a doctor, a bricklayer, whatever. If you can just change with this moment, then you find actually that you can become very skilled, adaptive in whatever you do in life. Whenever you are tied down by this is the way it should be done, this is the way it's always been done. Yeah, it works in most situations. But sometimes it doesn't work now, which is why one needs to have this beautiful ability to adapt to each moment as it appears in your life, and to be able to change at a moment's notice. Without that ability, you find that you miss so much in life, and you don't find much success in your life. So which is why we have to rebel in a sense against our preconceived ideas, to be willing to change, to be able to challenge everything. So there's not one sacred cow willing to bend anything to fit the truth, the facts in front of us. And we never allow our beliefs to obstruct the truth. And this is what we mean about that inner change, that inner evolution. Because many times we see things and it's not really the correct way. But we always think we're right. And eventually we find we were wrong. And the sooner we see that, the better. And the only way we can do that is to have the willingness to change. The willingness to change the way we look at things in life. The willingness to change our attitudes. The way that we've been trained, the way that we've been conditioned to see things in a different way. If it is truthful, if it is going to create a more peaceful and harmonious life for yourself and for others. I don't know how many, I always mention relationships because that is one of the greatest sources of happiness and suffering, in the world. And sometimes what is the case that we want to change but we can't change? Why can't we change? Why are we so resistant to change ourselves, change our behavior? A lot of time it's because we have fear of change. We don't know how to change. And it's really important to be someone who is very skilled in the ability to change. to develop the ability to change and the courage to change, because only when you can encourage that change and have the skill to change and allow yourself to change, can you have this beautiful sense of freedom, the wisdom which can always change to every moment and adapt to every moment. It's a compassion to life, to open the door of your heart to life, an ability to let things go. Let the past go, so you can be in the moment, always adapting and changing to life as it happens. You have to be in this spiritual path, be willing to change, willing to grow, willing to let the old go, so you can actually find something more beautiful. To be allowing yourself to change and grow. Otherwise, you'll be one of these people who's so dogmatic, who has these old views which you've carried around for such a long time, unwilling to change, only because you're comfortable with your old views and not willing to change for something better. We call that attachment to views and ideas, not willing to let things go, because letting things go is the meaning of change. So that's the talk this evening on change.